Sure.
Any questions? His hand was up first, so yes. Sorry.
Yeah, I'd like to comment. First of all, commend you for a real fine presentation. It was excellent. Let's give it a round. I agree with about 90% of what you said. I am a big advocate in eliminating a lot of rules and regulations, but I'll pose a riddle to the folks in the audience here that I think is relevant to rules and regulations. What is the difference between genius and stupidity? Genius has its limits.
So,
When it comes to regulations, for example, a friend of mine, a doctor of environmental engineering, found that a Dow chemical plant in Fremont, Texas, or Freeport, Texas, was releasing dioxin in the neighborhood and causing massive amounts of horrible types of cancer. They didn't care.
okay. Can I respond to that?
No, wait. Let me
Okay,
just finish.
okay.
Does Angie's List pertain to that?
No, property rights do.
Okay?
And allegedly, I have never seen a draft version, but the declaration said, among these rights are life, liberty, property, in the pursuit of happiness. But whether Jefferson intended to include that in the declaration, defending property rights is one of the proper purposes of government. Now, Dow is dumping toxic chemicals into nearby land. They're violating the property rights of their neighbors. They're polluting other individuals' property, and they should be prosecuted for that. So when I say get rid of regulations, I'm not saying businesses should be able to do anything and everything. They should, each individual, including businesses, should be free to act according to their own judgment, so long as they respect the mutual rights of others. And that means you can't violate the rights of other individuals. If I want to rob you, I can't do that because I'm violating your rights. So my point is I can't initiate force against other individuals no matter how badly I want to do that. Force is prohibited. And if I'm polluting someone's property, I'm using force against them. Okay.
Let me just make one final statement that if CEOs, for example, or vice presidents were personally held responsible financially and legally, and they went into regular prisons instead of the country club prisons that they went to, then I guarantee you a lot of this would stop.
No, I don't think whether the CEOs and the executives need to go to jail and be held financially responsible. I think that's a minor issue. I think the protection of property rights is far more important. That's what will stop it. If individuals and businesses knew that if they are polluting other people's property, they're going to suffer and suffer big time, that would stop it.
Not one person was indicted after the Lehman Brothers failure that sparked the 2008 recession.
Well, that's a different issue. We were just talking about Dow and pollution, and now you're talking about Lehman Brothers. I'm not sure I get the connection. Is there another question? Yes.
Two questions. What's the price of your book? And the second question, very interesting lecture, and I don't know if you can answer this quickly, but China has a vested interest in expanding their manufacturing, employing their people, and they're dumping and manipulating their currency. So they're expanding at the expense, to some extent, of our manufacturing capabilities and competitiveness. How do you see that in the pure free market approach? Just curious on your opinion.
Okay. First, the book is $20.
Thank you.
I believe in free trade. I said government should not be involved in economic activities.
I suspected that.
So, except if we're at war with a nation, then that's a totally different story. But we're not at war with China.
Economic?
I don't like the term war in terms of economics. War is trade. It's peaceful and voluntary. That's completely different than war. we might be competing with them, but we're not at war. War is death and destruction, and that's not what's going on. In fact, the improvements in China's economy have benefited us tremendously. I mean, look at Walmart. Walmart might not exist without China, but there are all kinds of goods that are available now to us for a fraction of what they might have been. So I think that's beneficial for everybody. Now, if China wants to subsidize their products that they're shipping here, fine. They're just making it cheaper for me. If they want to, subsidize their companies, they're taking money from their citizens to make prices cheaper for me. Why would I worry about that?
This is a separate question, but what country in the world has the freest markets and the freest liberties? In your opinion?
I don't know today, but I know in history it was 19th century America. Up until the Progressive era, basically. World War II, or World War I, I'm sorry.
Well, he agrees with you 90% of the time, but I want to also compliment you on a really good, extreme position in support of free markets and libertarianism. But I agree with you 10% of your speech. I do want to say, when you start off and you say that a neighbor robbing you and breaking into your house is a tantamount, the same thing as a duly imposed government through laws, checks and balances, also taking some tax money from you or regulate you, it's just a false comparison, and what gets people in trouble by those extreme views. Do you agree? Oh, you don't?
No.
Well, I'm not a libertarian. I'm not a libertarian.
Well, you're a free enterprise guy, but it really poses the problem. But you really tested them, because do you believe in gay marriages? They're going to have, by your position, you're going to have to go along with it, because that's free choice, and that should, right? So you're confronting that issue, aren't you? And taking a position in favor of gay marriages, right? No, I don't know.
No.
I am consistent.
I know you are. That's what makes you.
I advocate individual rights
Right.
for all individuals.
That's right.
Now you say that my comparison of the neighbor robbing me and the taxman paying me a friendly visit is not a proper comparison.
Right.
Well, what happens in both situations? Somebody takes my money without my consent. That's what's happening. Now, how is that different?
One's a legitimate process and the other is not. It's the
What makes it legitimate? What makes it legitimate?
Because it is our government and we are the government.
And we belong to them. They can just drain our bank accounts.
The Declaration of Independence says that all men are endowed with certain inalienable rights. Inalienable means cannot be violated. Didn't say inalienable except when government decides that it's appropriate. They wrote the Declaration against their government, against their duly constituted government.
Against the federal government, not the states. It was a control of the federal government. States have police powers, which means they can do these things.
Oh, so the federal government should be limited and restricted, but state governments can do whatever they
Look at your
please?
Constitution.
The principle of individual rights applies to individuals at every level of government. The proper purpose of government is the protection of our rights. And that's not just the federal government, that's every level of government. We can't say the federal government can't violate our rights, but the state government can. What good is that?
The Bill of Rights is now being incorporated through the 14th through court interpretation against the states, but that still doesn't answer the question. The limitations were on the federal government by the Constitution. I'll quit. Okay.
Well, I'm not arguing over what historically is true. I'm arguing what should be the case.
That's what.